A father stood in line at the Galactic Bank terminal, clutching his worn-down datapad with the same quiet desperation he'd used to hold his newborn daughter the day she came into his life. He only wanted to check his balance. He had just a simple number, just a quiet moment, but fate had a way of turning small moments into storms. And on that day, a fleet commander laughing behind him would trigger the beginning of everything that would soon shake their lives, their futures, and even the stars themselves. He hadn't planned for any of it. He hadn't planned for the commander's mockery, a broken bar, and he certainly hadn't planned for what would happen when the screen lit up. Keiran Holt had learned how to survive heartbreak in silence. At 35, he was a single dad, raising his 7-year-old daughter, Myra, in a settlement that always lived underneath the shadow of the fleet. Every morning before school, Myra wrapped her tiny arms around his waist and said the same thing. "Daddy, today will be better," he always answered with a half-smile, trying not to show how the weight of bills, triple shifts, and old regrets settled on his shoulders. "As long as you're here," he would say, "it already is." That morning, however, was not better. Keiran had waited 3 weeks for his wages to process. 3 weeks of late notices, 3 weeks of borrowing, 3 weeks of whispering promises to his daughter that things would turn around. He hoped needed to see enough credits on that screen to buy food, power, school supplies, a broken bar, a little breathing room for once. He stood in line at the bank terminal with Myra at his side, her small hand tucked in his. She hummed softly, swinging their linked arms, trying to keep his spirits up even though she didn't fully understand the strain he was under. Ahead of them, a decorated fleet commander, broad-shouldered, polished armor, smug eyes, turned around with a chuckle. "You look nervous, civilian," the commander said, eyeing Keiran's worn jacket. "Checking if you can afford lunch, or just hoping the account isn't empty again?" A few other customers snickered. Myra's grip tightened. Keiran inhaled slowly. "No trouble," Keiran said quietly. "Just here to check my balance." The commander laughed again. "You people are always the same, barely scraping by, waiting for miracles." Keiran stepped forward when the terminal opened. He lifted Myra so she could sit on his hip and see the screen too. She liked watching the numbers flash when the datapad linked. "Ready?" she whispered. "Ready," he whispered back. He tapped the screen. A bright flash of blue swept across the terminal, a loading bar, a beep. Then the number appeared. Keiran's breath vanished. The commander's laughter died abruptly. The entire line behind them fell silent. The balance was not just high, it was impossible. A transfer, massive, anonymous, life-changing, had landed in Keiran's account overnight. Myra gasped. "Daddy, a broken bar, are we rich?" Keiran stared, trembling. "Yeah, broken bar, I don't know." The commander leaned forward, his face paling as he read the digits. "These a broken bar, this must be a mistake." But Keiran knew. This wasn't random, not a glitch. The transaction code, a broken bar. He recognized it, from a place he hoped he would never hear from again, from a past he had buried, a past he desperately wanted to forget. And with that single number, the quiet life he had tried to build for Myra began to crack, because whoever sent that money, a broken bar, wanted something, and they had finally found him. Keiran walked home with Myra holding his hand tighter than usual. She kept glancing up at him, her youthful curiosity turning into deep concern. "Daddy," she said softly, "you look scared." He forced a smile. "Just surprised, sweetheart, that's all." But inside, he felt ice spreading through his chest. The past he tried so hard to escape, the training, the missions, the disaster that ended everything, they had reached into his new life like a ghost clawing out of a grave. The moment they reached their small apartment, Keiran locked the door, shut the blinds, and checked the datapad. The transfer code was unmistakable. It came from the Polaris Initiative via an elite covert branch of the fleet, the same organization he had abandoned years ago after one mission went horribly wrong. They must have known about Myra too. That thought made his stomach twist. Why now? Before he could think further, a soft knock tapped against the door. Myra froze. "Daddy, a broken bar, who is that?" Keiran motioned her behind the couch and approached the door quietly. He opened it just a crack. Outside stood Commander Roxa, the same officer from the bank, except now his smug expression was gone, replaced with an intensity that unsettled Keiran more than the earlier mockery ever could. "We need to talk," Rax said. Keiran didn't budge. "You followed me, I would have followed you across the planet," Rax replied. "That balance you showed at the terminal, a broken bar that was no ordinary transfer. Someone with clearance far above either of us wants your attention." "And they want it immediately." Keiran felt his pulse pound. "I'm not going back." Rax shook his head. "You don't understand. It's not a summons. It's a warning." "A warning?" Before Keiran could ask, Rax stepped closer. "There's a threat incoming, something big, and for reasons above my pay grade. The fleet believes you're the only one who can stop it." Keiran almost laughed. "Me? I'm a single dad who works triple shifts. I'm Noda." "Yes, you are," Rax cut in. "You're the only surviving pilot from the Vega incident. If the fleet's intel is correct, a broken bar, the same anomaly is returning." Keiran felt the world tilt. The Vega incident was the nightmare he tried to forget, an encounter with a destructive anomaly that tore apart ships, swallowed space, and nearly claimed his life. The mission that cost him everything, including Myra's mother. He whispered, "I can't fight that again. I won't leave Myra." Rax hesitated. For the first time, Keiran saw not an officer broken bar but a man who understood fear. "You won't have to leave her," Rax said. "The fleet wants you because the anomaly is heading directly for this colony. If you don't help a broken bar." He looked past Keiran, at the small apartment, the quiet life, the sleeping toys on the floor. "A broken bar, none of us survive. Not you, not your daughter." Silence filled the room, heavy, inevitable. Keiran closed his eyes, pain twisting inside him. He had spent years running from the fleet, from the past, from the guilt. But now, the storm had followed him home. Myra peeked over the couch, eyes wide. "Daddy, a broken bar, are we in danger?" Keiran knelt beside her, brushing her hair gently. "Not if I can help it." And in that moment, something inside him shifted, a quiet strength, a resolve he thought had died long ago. For a broken bar, he would face anything, even the stars, even the darkness between them, even the anomaly that once tore his world apart. Rax stepped back, sensing his answer. "The dropship leaves at dawn. If you come a broken bar, we fight together. If you don't a broken bar, then may fate help us all." As the door closed, Keiran lifted Myra into his arms. She rested her head against his chest. "Daddy," she whispered, "you're going to make today better to a broken bar, right?" He held her tightly. "I'll do more than that," he said. "I'm going to save it." Their quiet apartment hummed with the soft buzz of the datapod, the massive balance still glowing on the screen. Not a gift, not a miracle, a message, a call to action, a reminder that sometimes, even the quietest fathers carry the weight of galaxies on their shoulders. And when dawn came, a broken bar, Keiran Holt would rise to meet it, for his daughter, for their future, for the world that needed him again.